Sorry for the lack of videos, but everything should be back to normal pretty soon. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.
Hey, you in the chair.
Who, me?
Yes, you. Do you like fun?
Yeah, I like fun.
Do you like ponies?
Well, of course.
Well, what if I told you there's a place you can go to where you can meet bronies that have the same interests as you?
Well, now you're just pulling my hoof. No place like that can exist.
Well, that's where you're wrong, my little victim. Come on down to the pony equivalent of Las Pegasus, located in the family-friendly city of Las Vegas, Nevada. Unicon.
Unicon
Is the name that'll be echoing throughout the Brony fandom.
Unicon.
A My Little Pony convention filled with fun.
Fun.
Excitement.
Excitement.
Opportunities.
Opportunities.
And for the vendors, profit.
Profit.
Whoa! I can feel my love for My Little Pony growing stronger by the second!
5,000 guests will be attending, ready to party it up with some musical guests. Come and meet all of your favorite My Little Pony staff members, from the director to the composer to the writers and even a bunch of the voice cast. So come join us at the Riviera for a fun-filled weekend that you will never forget.
You know, it had its administrative issues.
Yeah, the ship is going down here in Las Pegasus.
Are we saying this is the biggest con fiasco of all time?
Financially, disaster.
The con was in trouble.
Who have no place to sleep tonight, but we're working on that too.
Darby, what are you calling this convention?
What? Oh, Titanic Con.
That con brought us all together.
Las Pegasus Unicon took place on February 22nd to the 24th of 2013. It has gone down in Brony history as being the most unorganized, unprofessional, bizarre failed attempt at a My Little Pony convention, and that's being nice. Failure doesn't even comprehend a good enough word to describe what the VIPs and attendees had to go through during this event. How did a weekend with so many stars, musicians, vendors, and months of advertising building up the con fall so short of what it had to offer? Let's dig in and see what happened to Unicon 2013. It all began in 2012 when the Brony fandom was starting to unfold. It was announced that a convention in Las Vegas was going to be taking place. Equestria Daily and Derpy Hooves News have already announced that Las Pegasus Unicon was opening and already had its first 3 special guests attending. As months went by, more and more show guests were announced, verifying from writers, composers, comic book artists, and a huge chunk of the voice cast that have had big and small roles on Friendship is Magic. Hasbro was skeptical about letting some of their cast and crew members attend a first-year con for an adult fandom that they were pretty unsure about. Concerns started rising among the fandom that there were too many pony conventions taking place that year and were unsure if fans would be willing to make the financial cost towards these cons. However, most of this was overlooked and those attending the convention were looking forward to a fun-filled, exciting weekend. But little did they know that their conship had a few leaks. During the first day of the convention, problems were already rising. Some people who had pre-registered did not have their information passed on to the registration desk, causing people to be in long lines for about 2 to 4 hours. When they finally got their badges, some didn't even have a proper name tag but were instead just written by hand with a Sharpie. A big portion of the attendees didn't even get a proper con booklet as only 100 were made for over 800 people, so you had to share your booklet with others. The convention pamphlet itself was printed off of an inkjet printer, hand-folded and stapled in the middle. It was probably the cheapest convention booklet I have ever seen. You can bet the people who paid good money to advertise in it were less than pleased since barely anyone got it. Convention goers also recognized that there was a constant misspelling of names, titles, and events, such as M.A. Larson, Vinder, and Daniel Ingram, the voice actor. Really now? The vendors also had a few problems. For some reason, there was a giant wall dividing the vendors from Artist Alley, which made it tough for anyone to make business as there was no sign pointing to the other artists behind the wall. Attendees had no idea the second room even existed, and many of the vendors suffered from low traffic on the first day. Another odd thing was that this convention had its own currency called Unicon bits. Vendors could have used this currency in the vendor hall, while vendors could have exchanged the bits for real cash once the convention was concluded. Surely the VIPs were treated with care. Well, due to the lack of communication and convention staff, most of the VIPs were not picked up at the airport and had to get to the convention using other means of transportation. Later that night, the convention concert took place, which charged a $5 fee at the door. Michelle Krieber and her family got held up at the border and were running a day behind. It was the other musicians and EverFree Network staff who were running all of damage control, rearranging concert lists, and making sure Michelle Krieber played last, hoping that she would make it to the event on time. Mike the Microphone picked up a lot of the slack and attempted to stall for as long as he could. A few congoers had mentioned that the venue was terrible and the performers were puzzled by how small the turnout was. Mike the Microphone did a lot of stalling until Michelle Krieber arrived and the concert ended on a very big finale. The $5 entry fee kept a few attendees away, especially with all the last-minute chaos and changes. Friday had a bunch of hiccups, but no one really thought that much of it since all first-year cons have minor problems in the beginning. But hopefully they'll be ironed out tomorrow. Right? Saturday was the day where everyone started to notice that there was not a lot of people at the convention. A lot of panels were either running late or canceled, and the ones that were still going were half filled, and vendors were not making a lot of sales. Even well-known sellers such as We Love Fine and Interplay weren't getting enough business, and a lot of vendors were worried about breaking even or if it was even worth to continue selling. On a good note, the wall that was separating the vendors from Artist Alley was removed to stop the confusion, but that didn't seem to really help much. During this time, people were wandering around the halls and were able to head into places they weren't supposed to. For example, the skybox where people could pay to chill with the voice actors had no staff checking for badges as there was a complete lack of volunteers for the convention. The voice actors were rarely seen outside of panels and on some occasion were just wandering the halls with no escort or protection. Later in the day, a waiter opened a fire exit which caused the fire alarm to go off, which caused a few panels to be cut short while the whole convention was evacuated onto the streets for about 30 minutes. Once everyone got back inside, the events were continued as planned, but the vendor hall was just a ghost town at this point. As the day continued into the night, a concert was held. During this time, the voice actors' agents gathered up a bunch of the well-known Brony media sites such as EverFree Network, Equestria Daily, Brony Show, Celestia Radio, Derpy Hooves News, and Ponyville Live. They were told that the con staff has run out of money. This meant they could not pay for the hotel or the special guests. So some last-minute actions were taken to where all of these sites would get together and ask for donations with the hashtag #LostPegasus in order to pay for the show staff. Final Draft got some of the other head convention leaders to help organize the con. As a result of this, people worked all night to redo the convention schedule and rearrange staff members. Due to this change in command, the convention booklets became pretty much useless, and the vendors who accepted the Unicon bits as currency, as mentioned earlier, got screwed as there was no way to exchange them into cash. The convention ship had hit an iceberg and was on the edge of sinking fast. Sunday was the day the convention ship had sunk and everyone was suffering. The very next day, the main person running the convention bailed while other outlets helped out with the con. Soon word spread throughout the con that they had gone over budget. As a result of this, the convention decided to lower prices on autographs, voicemails, photographs, and prints in order to raise money for the voice actors. VIPs went from guests of honor to being reduced to staying behind a table as Sharpie-holding sweatshop workers. To make matters worse, the hotel hosting the convention, the Riviera, received word that the convention went over budget and was told by the holder to charge guests in order to reduce the debt. Hundreds of attendees were stuck with $600 to $1,000 in hotel costs and travel expenses, while a few were locked out of their own room. The con was literally broken. A schedule was remade again in order to move panels and have more time for the staff to do autographs. Around this time, all hope was lost for Unicon, as everyone started panicking and abandoning the convention. Rumors were flying around the hall if vendors didn't evacuate by 5 p.m., anything left in the vendor hall floor would be property of the hotel. Everyone frantically cleared all their stuff and got out of there. The convention was shut down at 5 p.m., 1 hour earlier than planned. The staff was able to make around $3,000 in autographs, while the charity fundraisers that was set up by all the major Brony networks was able to bring in an additional $7,000 for the cast and crew. An additional $4,000 was raised between midnight and 2 a.m. This was close enough to cover the hotel and travel expenses for the voice actors. Not only was Unicon a total failure, but any other big My Little Pony convention that was taking place that year was also affected by the aftermath. As a result, a bunch of the show staff and members pulled out of future cons. Tara Strong decided not to go to any pony conventions for a while, afraid that any first-year cons would turn out like Las Pegasus. This convention damaged the reputation of many first-time cons that were going on that year and made many in the Brony community question the legitimacy of other conventions. A few hours later, after Unicon came to a close, the hashtag Las Pegasus Assist donation fund started an auction to help those in need who were affected by the events that took place at Unicon. M.A. Larson, Megan McCarthy, Amy Keaton-Rogers, and a few others were able to help those who were suffering through Unicon. This included a reimbursement for a few vendors who accepted the fake Unicon cash. But how did this convention fail? The first problem was that the convention itself was held in Vegas. Las Vegas is most certainly not a family-friendly place. It is surrounded by casinos, strip clubs, alcohol, prostitutes, and the smell of smog. My Little Pony is a show for everyone, and cons are supposed to bring everyone together. But how can anyone come together in a city that is primarily for adults over the age of 21? It destroyed any hopes of them gathering 2,000 people to show up. Yes, that was their primary goal. Obviously, that didn't happen, and the event suffered majorly. Another problem was that Unicon didn't have enough staff and volunteers that were experienced enough to handle the event, which led to other attendees to pick up the pieces. The organizers had no idea what they were doing and didn't budget properly, but instead went all out inviting guests, hyping it up, and making a bunch of promises that they couldn't keep, which gave everyone and anyone who witnessed this event a lot of stress and heartache through the 3-day event. The only good thing that came out of Unicon unintentionally was that it showed how strong the fandom was. A lot of bronies from around the world would pitch in their own money in order to help those who were in need. The best part was when the people who attended the convention were keeping better order than the people who were actually running the convention. Now, this video is already long enough as it is, so I'm going to tell you the other unfortunate events that took place that I forgot to mention. During the celebrity dinner, Tara Strong was served eggplant, which she was allergic to. She later fired her agent, but however, this was not confirmed if it had anything to do with the con or something else. There was a big rumor going around that agents were taking money from charity auctions, however, this was not confirmed. One unverified source says that the head of the con was still in possession of $40,000, however, this is most unlikely due to the hotel could have sued her if she didn't pay up. There were supposed to be speeches given by the voice actors by the sponsors who paid $5,000, but instead, nothing happened and the speeches were given by Mike the Microphone and Dustykatt. Las Pegasus did post an official statement on their website to clear up what happened. However, this turned out to be a load of horse crap, as countless comments and people who attended the event were calling them out for their mistakes. The MLP staff was not pleased. And that is the story of Unicon, a convention that fell flat of all expectations, leading guests into a false hope of a fun-filled weekend and almost jeopardized the future of any first-time Brony conventions taking place that year. But if it wasn't for the amazing Brony fandom to step in, who knows what the future of conventions would hold. I'm Tootsie Forever, and thank you for watching.